They say blood is thicker than water. I believed that. For 22 years, I believed that. Then I saw my nephew's wife at the shopping mall. Perfectly healthy. Laughing with friends. Shopping with money I'd given her to fight the cancer that never existed. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me tell you how it started. Because you need to understand what Jason meant to me. What he was supposed to mean. My name is Patricia, and I'm 62 years old. I'm a retired elementary school teacher. A widow. And for most of my life, I thought I knew what family meant. My husband Henry died 5 years ago. Massive heart attack while mowing the lawn on a sunny Saturday morning. One moment he was there, the next he was gone. 43 years of marriage ended in the time it took the ambulance to arrive. Henry left me comfortable. Life insurance. His pension. Our house paid off. I wasn't rich, but I didn't have to worry. I could travel a little. Help family when they needed it. Live quietly and peacefully. But comfortable doesn't mean happy when you're alone. Our house felt too big. Too quiet. We'd never had children of our own. It just never happened for us. So we poured our love into our nieces and nephews instead. Especially Jason. Before we go any further into this, I just want to say, if you feel a connection to these stories, a small click on that like button and subscribe would mean more to me than you know. It lets me know I'm not just speaking into the void, that you're really here with me. Alright, let's continue. Jason was my younger brother David's son. David and his wife Angela, they were good people. Loving parents. They lived about 30 miles away, and we'd see each other for holidays and birthdays. Jason was a sweet kid. Curious. Smart. Always asking me about my students, always wanting to help when I'd grade papers. He was 12 years old when his parents died. It was a rainy November night. David and Angela were driving home from a dinner with friends. A drunk driver ran a red light. David died instantly. Angela died 3 hours later in the hospital. Just like that, Jason was an orphan. The funeral was the worst day of my life. Worse than losing Henry, if I'm being honest. Because Henry lived a full life. But David was only 39. Angela was 37. They should have had decades left. And Jason, standing at his parents' graves in a suit that was too big for him, trying so hard not to cry, trying to be brave. I made a decision right then. This boy was going to be okay. I would make sure of it. There were discussions about where Jason would go. David's parents were elderly and in poor health. Angela's family lived overseas. There were some distant cousins who offered, but nobody really knew Jason. Nobody loved him the way I did. He'll come live with me and Henry, I said. And that was that. Jason moved into our spare bedroom. We enrolled him in the middle school near our house. Henry and I became his legal guardians. And slowly, carefully, we helped him heal. It wasn't easy. Jason had nightmares for months. He'd wake up crying, calling for his mother. I'd sit with him until dawn sometimes, just holding him, letting him know he wasn't alone. But gradually, he adjusted. He made friends. His grades improved. He joined the soccer team. By the time he was 15, you could see glimpses of the happy kid he used to be. Henry and I loved him like he was ours. Because he was ours. Maybe not by birth, but by choice. By love. By commitment. We paid for everything. His braces. His school trips. His first car when he turned 16. His college application fees. We wanted him to have every opportunity his parents would have given him. When Jason got accepted to the state university, Henry and I were so proud we cried. We paid his full tuition. $80,000 over 4 years. We didn't hesitate. This was our son. You do anything for your children. Jason graduated with a degree in business. Got a good job at a marketing firm. Started his adult life with no debt, no burden, just possibilities. That's what we wanted for him. When he was 26, he met Melissa at a work conference. She was pretty. Bright. Seemed sweet. They dated for 2 years, then got engaged. Jason brought her to meet us. Aunt Patricia, Uncle Henry, this is Melissa. She's the one. I liked her immediately. She was polite, asked about my teaching career, complimented my cooking. She seemed to make Jason happy. What more could I want? They got married in a beautiful ceremony 3 years ago. Henry and I contributed $30,000 toward the wedding. It was a lot of money, but Jason was our boy. We wanted him to start his marriage right. A year after the wedding, they were talking about buying their first house. Jason called me, nervous. Aunt Patricia, we found the perfect place. But we're a little short on the down payment. I hate to ask, but how much do you need? I asked. $25,000. I know it's a lot. We'll pay you back, I promise. I gave them the money. Not a loan. A gift, because that's what family does. Henry had just died 6 months earlier, and I had the life insurance money. What was I going to do with it? I wanted Jason to be happy. To be settled. To have the life his parents would have wanted for him. Over the next 3 years, I saw Jason and Melissa maybe once every 2 months. They were busy with work, with their new house, with their lives. I understood. Young couples need space. I'd call Jason every week, text him funny memes, send birthday cards with checks inside. He always said the same thing. Love you, Aunt Patricia. You're the best. And I believed him. Then, 18 months ago, I got the phone call that changed everything. It was a Tuesday evening. I was making dinner, listening to jazz, feeling content. My phone rang. Jason's name on the screen. Hey, sweetheart, I answered. How are you? Silence. Then I heard it. He was crying. Jason? Baby, what's wrong? Aunt Patricia. His voice broke. It's Melissa. We just got back from the doctor. They ran tests because she's been feeling sick and tired and, God, I don't even know how to say this. My heart stopped. Say what? She has cancer. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. The doctor says, he says 6 months. Maybe less. There's no cure. It's too advanced. The room spun. I sat down hard on my kitchen chair. Oh my God. Oh, Jason. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He was sobbing now. Full, broken sobs. I don't know what to do. She's only 31 years old. We were going to have kids. We were going to grow old together. And now they're saying 6 months. What can I do? I asked. Tell me how to help. There's nothing. There's no cure. The doctor said we can try chemo to slow it down, but it's not going to, it won't save her. It'll just buy time. And she'll be so sick, so miserable. I can't watch her suffer like that. We talked for an hour. I cried with him. Told him I'd be there for whatever they needed. That Melissa was family. That we'd face this together. After we hung up, I sat in my dark kitchen and thought about Angela. About losing her to a sudden, violent death. Now Melissa, losing her to this slow, cruel disease. Life was so unfair. For the next 2 weeks, I called Jason every day. How was Melissa feeling? What were the doctors saying? Was there anything I could do? He always said the same thing. We're managing. Taking it day by day. Then, 3 weeks after the diagnosis, Jason called again. This time, his voice had something different in it. Hope. Aunt Patricia, we found something. A clinical trial in Switzerland. Experimental treatment. It's shown really promising results for pancreatic cancer. People who were given months to live are still alive years later. That's amazing, I said. When does she start? Silence. Jason? Insurance won't cover it. It's experimental. Not approved yet in the US. And the cost is $180,000. My breath caught. That was a huge amount of money. More than half of what Henry had left me. We've been trying to figure it out, Jason continued, his voice desperate. We took out a loan against the house. We maxed out our credit cards. But we're still $80,000 short. And the trial starts in 6 weeks. If we miss the window, Melissa won't qualify. She'll die, Aunt Patricia. She'll die, and I can't let that happen when there's a chance. I didn't hesitate. Didn't even consider saying no. I'll give you the money, I said. All of it. $180,000. You don't need to scramble. You don't need loans. I have it. It's yours. Aunt Patricia, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm giving. Jason, you're my son. Maybe not by blood, but you're mine. And Melissa is my daughter-in-law. Family takes care of family. That's what your parents would do. That's what Henry would do. And that's what I'm doing. He started crying again. Thank you. God, thank you so much. You're saving her life. You're giving us a chance. You just focus on Melissa, I said. I'll handle the money. How do I get it to you? The clinic needs it wired directly. I'll send you the information. Aunt Patricia, I don't know how to thank you. You're a miracle. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not from worry about the money. From hope. From the possibility that maybe, just maybe, we'd save her. That Jason wouldn't lose his wife the way I lost Henry. That this experimental treatment would work. I transferred $180,000 from my life insurance account. Watched that balance drop. Felt a moment of vertigo at how much it was. But then I thought about Jason's voice. About Melissa dying at 31. About love and family and doing what's right. Money can be earned again. Lives can't. 3 days after I wired the money, Jason called. She's in. The clinic accepted her. She starts treatment next month. Aunt Patricia, you saved her life. I hope so, sweetheart. I really hope so. Over the next few weeks, Jason sent me updates. Melissa was preparing for the trip to Switzerland. They'd be gone for 6 weeks for the initial intensive treatment. Then she'd come home for maintenance therapy. Can I visit before she goes? I asked. I'd like to see her. To wish her well. She's really sick right now, Aunt Patricia. Barely getting out of bed. The cancer is moving fast. The doctor said the stress of visitors might be too much. But she knows you're thinking of her. She cries every time I tell her what you did for us. Okay. Tell her I love her. Tell her to fight. I will. 6 weeks went by. Jason sent occasional texts. Treatment is hard but she's hanging in there. Doctors are cautiously optimistic. She's so brave, Aunt Patricia. So strong. I prayed every night. Prayed to a God I wasn't even sure I believed in anymore. Please save her. Please let the treatment work. When they returned from Switzerland, Jason called to update me. She's doing okay. Tired. Weak. But the initial results are promising. She needs to continue treatment here now. Pills. Some infusions. It's expensive, but manageable. How expensive? The medications they prescribed, insurance is fighting coverage. It's about $15,000 a month. I didn't even pause. I'll cover it. For as long as she needs. Aunt Patricia. Jason, we're not stopping now. Not when there's hope. Send me the information. Over the next year, I gave them more money. $15,000 here. $20,000 there. Complications from treatment. New specialist consultation. Travel to a clinic in Houston for a second opinion. I watched my savings dwindle. The comfortable nest egg Henry left me was disappearing. But Melissa was alive. That's what mattered. I asked to visit several times. Jason always had a reason why it wasn't a good time. She's too weak. Her immune system is compromised. The doctors said limited contact until she's stronger. Finally, 15 months after the diagnosis, Jason called. She's having a good day. A really good day. If you want to visit, now would be perfect. Just, keep it short. She gets tired easily. I drove the 40 minutes to their house with a container of homemade soup and a bouquet of flowers. My heart was pounding. I was finally going to see her. See how she was doing. Offer whatever comfort I could. Jason answered the door. He looked tired. Thinner than I remembered. Aunt Patricia. Come in. The house was beautiful. New furniture. Expensive-looking artwork on the walls. A huge television. Everything looked prosperous. Which seemed odd given all the medical expenses. But maybe they'd saved in other areas. She's in the living room, Jason said quietly. Please don't be shocked. The treatment has been hard on her body. I walked into the living room, and there was Melissa. Sitting on the couch wrapped in a blanket. And Jason was right. She looked terrible. Her face was gaunt, pale. Dark circles under her eyes. She wore a soft headscarf covering what I assumed was hair loss from treatment. Her hands were thin, almost skeletal. Patricia, she said, her voice weak. Thank you for coming. I sat down next to her, tears in my eyes. Oh, sweetheart. How are you feeling? Some days are better than others. Today is a good day. She smiled, but it looked like it cost her effort. Jason told me what you did. The money. The treatment. You saved my life. I don't know how to ever repay you. You don't repay family, I said, taking her thin hand. You just get better. That's all I need. We talked for 20 minutes. She told me about Switzerland. About the treatment. About how scary it was but how grateful she was for the chance to fight. Then she started looking pale. Exhausted. I'm sorry, Patricia. I need to rest. Of course. I'll go. You take care of yourself. Jason walked me to my car. Thank you for understanding. She puts on a brave face, but she's struggling. I can see that. Is the treatment working? The doctors say it's slowing the cancer. Buying time. We're hopeful. I drove home with tears streaming down my face. Seeing her like that, so fragile, so sick, it broke my heart. But at least she was alive. At least she was fighting. I'd given them $270,000 over 18 months. More than half of everything Henry left me. My savings account was running low. My comfortable retirement was becoming uncertain. But it was worth it. For family. For Jason. For the nephew who'd lost his parents and who I'd raised as my own son. I would have given more if they'd asked. I would have given everything. That's what you do for the people you love. That's what I believed. Until the day I saw Melissa at the shopping mall. Perfectly healthy. Laughing. Shopping. Very much not dying. And that's when everything I thought I knew about family shattered into 1,000 pieces. You know that feeling when your brain sees something but refuses to believe it? When reality and what you know can't possibly be true or fighting each other in your head. That's what happened when I saw Melissa at the shopping mall. It was a Saturday afternoon, about 3 weeks after my visit to their house. I was meeting my friend Carol for lunch at the food court. Just a normal day. Nothing special. Carol and I were sitting with our salads, talking about her grandchildren, when I glanced across the mall corridor. And I saw her. A woman coming out of a luxury boutique, laughing with 2 other women. Arms full of shopping bags. Long dark hair flowing down her back. Healthy glow. Vibrant. Alive. It looked like Melissa. But it couldn't be Melissa. Melissa was sick. Dying. Weak. Wearing headscarves to hide her hair loss from chemotherapy. Patricia? You okay? Carol was looking at me with concern. You just went completely white. I think I see someone I know. The woman was closer now. 30 feet away. 20. And as she turned to say something to her friends, laughing at some joke, I saw her face clearly. It was Melissa. No doubt. Same features. Same smile. But this Melissa looked nothing like the frail, dying woman I'd visited 3 weeks ago. This Melissa was radiant. Excuse me, I said to Carol, standing up so fast I almost knocked over my chair. I need to. I'll be right back. I walked toward them, my heart pounding. My mind racing. Maybe she was having a really good day. Maybe the treatment was working better than expected. Maybe this was just a wig and really good makeup. Melissa? I called out. She turned. Saw me. And her face, her face changed instantly. The smile vanished. Her eyes went wide. Her skin went from healthy pink to stark white in seconds. Patricia, she breathed. It wasn't a greeting. It was almost like a curse word. Melissa, oh my God, you look amazing. I'm so glad to see you up and about. Jason didn't tell me you were having such a good day. You look so. I trailed off because she was backing away from me. Melissa? I have to go. She turned to her friends. We need to go. Now. But we haven't been to, one of her friends started. Now, Melissa snapped. And then she was moving. Fast. Not the slow, careful walk of someone weak from treatment. She was practically running through the mall. I stood there, frozen. Watching her disappear into the crowd. Who was that? Carol had caught up to me. Friend of yours? That was my nephew's wife. She has stage 4 cancer. She's supposed to be dying. Carol looked at me strangely. Honey, that woman did not look like she was dying. She looked healthier than I do. I know, I whispered. I know. Something was very, very wrong. I made an excuse to Carol about not feeling well and left the mall. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. Maybe Melissa was in remission. Maybe the experimental treatment had worked miraculously well. That would be wonderful. That would be. But then why did she run from me? Why did she look terrified? My phone buzzed. A text from Jason. Hey Aunt Patricia. Melissa had a rough morning. Chemo side effects. Please keep her in your prayers. I stared at that text. Chemo side effects. This morning. But I'd just seen her shopping, laughing, looking perfectly healthy. I texted back, I hope she feels better soon. Love to you both. Then I did something I'd never done before. I drove to their house. Unannounced. Without calling first. I needed to see her. To understand. To make sense of what I'd witnessed. I pulled up to their home. The same house I'd helped them buy with that $25,000 gift, but now I noticed things I hadn't paid attention to before. New landscaping. Expensive-looking outdoor furniture. A boat in the driveway. A boat. When did they get a boat? I rang the doorbell. Waited. Heard movement inside but no one answered. I rang again. Jason? It's Aunt Patricia. I was in the neighborhood. Thought I'd stop by. More movement. Whispers. Then Jason opened the door, but only a crack. Aunt Patricia. This isn't a great time. Melissa is really sick today. I know. I got your text. That's why I wanted to check on her. I brought some ginger tea. It might help with the nausea. That's really sweet, but she's sleeping. Can't be disturbed. Doctor's orders. I looked at him. Really looked at him. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Jason, can I ask you something? Sure. When did you get a boat? He blinked. What? The boat in your driveway. When did you buy that? Oh. That. A few months ago. Got a good deal on it. Friend was selling. Why? Just curious. Must be expensive to maintain. With all the medical bills and everything. We manage, he said shortly. Look, Aunt Patricia, I really need to go. Melissa might need me. Of course. Tell her I'm thinking of her. He closed the door. And I stood there on his porch, feeling something cold settle in my stomach. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Melissa's face. Healthy. Glowing. Terrified when she saw me. I kept thinking about the new furniture. The expensive artwork. The boat. All while they were supposedly drowning in medical expenses. At 2 a.m., I got up and went to my home office. I pulled out the folder where I kept all the documentation related to the money I'd given them. The wire transfer to the Swiss clinic. $180,000. The account number looked legitimate. The clinic name, Geneva Advanced Oncology Institute. I opened my laptop and searched for it. Found a website. Professional looking. Photos of doctors in white coats. Testimonials. Everything you'd expect. But something made me dig deeper. I searched for reviews. Medical journal articles. Anything that confirmed this place was real. Nothing. No independent verification. No patient reviews outside their own website. No medical publications mentioning them. I searched the physical address listed on the website. It was a real address in Geneva. But when I used Google Street View to look at it, the building shown was a regular office building. Not a medical facility. No signs. No indication of a cancer clinic. My hands started shaking. I searched for the doctors listed on the website. None of them appeared in any medical databases. Their photos looked generic. Like stock photos. This couldn't be real. This clinic couldn't be real. Which meant, no, I was being paranoid. There had to be an explanation. Maybe the clinic was new. Maybe they operated under a different name publicly. Maybe. I looked at the other expenses. The monthly medications. $15,000. I'd written those checks directly to Jason, not to a pharmacy. He said insurance wouldn't cover them, so they had to pay out of pocket. The specialist in Houston. $20,000 for consultation and tests. Again, check written to Jason. All of it. $270,000 over 18 months. All of it had gone directly to Jason and Melissa. Not to hospitals. Not to pharmacies. Not to medical facilities. To them. I felt sick. Physically sick. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. When I came back to my office, I made a decision. I needed proof. Real proof. Not just suspicions and Google searches. The next morning, I called a private investigator. His name was Mark Sullivan. I'd found him online. Good reviews. 30 years of experience. We met at a coffee shop. I told him everything. The cancer diagnosis. The money. Seeing Melissa at the mall. My suspicions about the clinic. Mark listened without interrupting. When I finished, he nodded slowly. Mrs. Patterson, I'm going to be honest with you. This sounds like a medical fraud scam. They're more common than people think. Family members, especially older family members with savings, get targeted. But Jason is my nephew. I raised him. He's not, he wouldn't. I understand. And I hope I'm wrong. But let me investigate. I'll verify the clinic in Switzerland. I'll check medical records to confirm Melissa's diagnosis and treatment. I'll track where your money actually went. Give me 2 weeks. Then we'll know for sure. 2 weeks. 14 days of not knowing. 14 days of hoping I was wrong while simultaneously knowing, deep down, that I wasn't. I went through those 2 weeks in a fog. Jason texted me updates about Melissa. Good day today. Bad reaction to meds yesterday. Each text felt like a lie now. But I played along. Sent encouraging messages. Asked how I could help. Playing the role of the concerned aunt while investigating whether my nephew and his wife had stolen over $250,000 from me. Finally, Mark called. Mrs. Patterson, can you come to my office? I have my findings. I drove there with my stomach in knots. Mark's office was small but professional. He had a thick file on his desk. I'm sorry, he said before I even sat down. I'm so sorry to tell you this. And then he laid it all out. The Geneva Advanced Oncology Institute did not exist. The website was fake, created 18 months ago, right around the time of Melissa's diagnosis. The address was a mailbox rental facility. The doctors were stock photos. The whole thing was a sophisticated forgery. The money I'd wired? It went to an account in Geneva, yes. But that account belonged to Jason. He'd opened it specifically to receive my transfer. The money was withdrawn in cash over several weeks, then disappeared. Melissa's medical records? Mark had obtained them legally with a medical records request form I'd signed. Melissa Chen had never been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. In fact, her medical records showed she'd been to a doctor exactly twice in the past 2 years. Once for a routine checkup. Once for a twisted ankle. No cancer. No chemotherapy. No experimental treatment. Nothing. But I saw her, I said, my voice shaking, 3 weeks ago. At their house. She looked sick, thin, pale, wearing a headscarf. Mark nodded sadly. I looked into that too. There are websites that teach people how to fake illness. Weight loss pills. Makeup techniques to look pale and gaunt. Wigs and headscarves. It's all stagecraft, Mrs. Patterson. They put on a show for you. He opened another folder. Here's where your money actually went. Photographs. Bank statements. Credit card records. $65,000, down payment on their house. The house I'd already given them $25,000 for. They'd told me they needed more from their own savings. $80,000, 2 cars. A BMW for him. A luxury SUV for her. $30,000, vacations. Bali, Paris, the Caribbean. All in the past 18 months. All while supposedly fighting cancer. $25,000, the boat. Furniture. Electronics. Luxury items. The rest? Investments. Savings accounts. Planning for their future. A future funded by my grief and fear. They specifically targeted your emotions, Mark said quietly. They knew you'd raised Jason. They knew you'd lost your husband. They knew you had life insurance money. They weaponized your love against you. I couldn't speak, couldn't cry. I just sat there, staring at the evidence of my nephew's betrayal. Mrs. Patterson, this is criminal fraud. Elder financial abuse. You need to go to the police. With this evidence, they'll prosecute. Jason, I finally whispered. I raised him. After his parents died, I became his mother. How could he do this to me? Mark's face was full of compassion. I've been doing this job for 30 years. The people who hurt us worst are usually the ones we trust most. I'm sorry. I wish I had better news. I took the file home. Spread all the evidence across my dining room table. Bank statements. Vacation photos downloaded from Melissa's private social media accounts. Credit card bills. The fake clinic website printed out. Everything that proved the person I'd loved as a son had spent 18 months lying to me. Stealing from me. Watching me worry and grieve while he and his wife spent my money on luxuries. My phone buzzed. Another text from Jason. Melissa's having a hard night. The pain is really bad. She wanted me to tell you she loves you and appreciates everything you've done. You're an angel, Aunt Patricia. An angel. He called me an angel while he was robbing me blind. I looked at that text for a long time. Then I did something I'd never imagined I'd have to do. I took a photo of all the evidence spread across my table. And I texted it back to Jason. Just the photo. No words. 3 minutes later, my phone rang. Jason's name on the screen. I answered. Said nothing. Aunt Patricia, I can explain. His voice was panicked, desperate. It's not what it looks like. Let me come over. Let me explain everything. Does Melissa have cancer? I asked. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Cold, flat. Silence. Does Melissa have cancer? Aunt Patricia. Yes or no, Jason? More silence. Then, so quietly I almost didn't hear it, no. Did she ever have cancer? No. Did you spend 18 months lying to me? Stealing from me? Making me believe someone I cared about was dying? I can explain. We were desperate. The house, the debt, we needed. You needed my money. So you invented a dying wife. It wasn't like that. It started small. Just the Swiss clinic thing. But then it worked, and we needed more, and it spiraled. Aunt Patricia, please. Don't hate me. You're all the family I have. I laughed. It sounded bitter even to me. I'm not your family, Jason. Family doesn't do what you did. A con artist does what you did. A thief does what you did. Please, don't go to the police. Please. I'll pay you back. Every penny. It'll take time but, with what money? You spent it all. On boats and vacations and luxury cars. You stole $270,000 from me. That was half of everything my husband left me. That was my security. My retirement. My future. And you took it. While pretending to be grateful. While calling me an angel. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please. I saw Melissa at the mall 3 weeks ago. She looked perfectly healthy. And when she saw me, she ran. Did you know that? She told me. She was terrified you'd figure it out. So when I came to your house the next day, you put on another show. Had her dress up like a sick person. Perform for me one more time. Was that part fun for you? Watching me cry over someone who wasn't even sick? No. God, no. Aunt Patricia, I felt terrible. I've felt terrible this whole time. But we were in too deep. I didn't know how to stop. You could have told me the truth. You would have hated me. I hate you now, Jason. The difference is, now I also know exactly who you are. I hung up, blocked his number, blocked Melissa's number, and then I called the police. You know what the hardest part of betrayal is? It's not the anger. Anger is clean. Anger is simple. Anger gives you energy. The hardest part is the grief, the mourning of who you thought someone was. I spent that night crying, not for the money, for Jason, for the boy who'd lost his parents, for the 12-year-old who'd had nightmares and called for his mother, for the young man I'd sent to college with pride in my heart. That person never existed. Or maybe he did, once. And somewhere along the way, he became someone I didn't recognize. By morning, I was done grieving. Now it was time for justice. The police station was a 20-minute drive from my house. I'd never been inside before. Never had a reason to. I was a retired teacher. Law-abiding, quiet. The kind of person who'd never imagined she'd need to file a criminal complaint against her own family. But here I was. The officer at the front desk looked up as I approached. Can I help you, ma'am? I need to report a fraud. Elder financial abuse. I have extensive documentation. She directed me to Detective Sarah Chen. A woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Her office was small but organized. Photos of her family on the desk. Mrs. Patterson, please sit down. Tell me what happened. I told her everything. From the beginning. David and Angela's death. Raising Jason. The phone call about Melissa's cancer. The money. All $270,000 of it. The fake clinic. The staged illness. Seeing Melissa at the mall. I spread Mark Sullivan's investigative report across her desk. Bank statements. The fake website printouts. Melissa's real medical records showing no cancer. Credit card statements showing luxury purchases. Vacation photos dated during her supposed treatment. Detective Chen went through everything methodically. She didn't interrupt. Didn't rush me. Just listened and examined every piece of evidence. When I finished, she looked up at me. Mrs. Patterson, I've been doing this job for 15 years. This is one of the most well-documented fraud cases I've ever seen. Your private investigator did excellent work. And the fact that you kept records of every transfer, that's going to make prosecution straightforward. So you'll investigate? This isn't a matter of investigation. This is a matter of arrest. What they did to you is criminal fraud, elder financial abuse, identity theft for the forged medical documents, and conspiracy. These are serious felonies. With this evidence, the DA will definitely prosecute. How long will it take? I'll bring them in for questioning today. With evidence this strong, I expect they'll confess. Then it's up to the district attorney's office to file charges. Mrs. Patterson, I need you to understand something. Once I make this arrest, there's no going back. Your nephew will have a criminal record. He'll likely go to prison. Is that what you want? I thought about Jason's face when he was 12. Thought about every birthday cake I'd baked him. Every soccer game I'd attended. Every proud moment when he'd succeeded at something. Then I thought about him texting me, "You're an angel," while spending my money on a boat. Yes, I said firmly. That's what I want. What he did was cruel. Calculated. He didn't just steal money. He stole 18 months of my emotional life. He made me grieve for someone who wasn't dying. He weaponized my love. That deserves consequences. Detective Chen nodded with what looked like respect. I agree. We'll move quickly. I'll call you with updates. That afternoon, my phone rang. It was Detective Chen. We've brought them in. Jason Hayes and Melissa Chen. They're being questioned separately. Mrs. Patterson, Jason confessed almost immediately. Melissa is being more difficult, but with Jason's confession, we have what we need. What happens now? They'll be formally arrested. Bail will be set. Then arraignment. Then trial, unless they take a plea deal. Which, given the evidence, their lawyer will probably recommend. 2 hours later, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw two people I didn't recognize. A man and a woman, both middle-aged, both looking devastated. I opened the door cautiously. Can I help you? Mrs. Patterson? I'm Robert Hayes. Jason's father-in-law. This is my wife Linda. We need to talk to you. Jason's in-laws. Melissa's parents. I'd met them twice. Once at the wedding. Once at a holiday dinner. I don't think there's anything to discuss, I said. Please, Linda said, and she was crying. Please, just 5 minutes. We had no idea what they were doing. We're horrified. We're ashamed. But we need to understand. To hear it from you. Against my better judgment, I let them in. We sat in my living room. The same room where Jason used to do his homework after school. Where he'd played video games with Henry. Where he'd told me about meeting Melissa. The police told us what Melissa and Jason did, Robert said. His hands were shaking. The fake cancer. The money they stole from you. The lies. We had no idea. They bought expensive things, I said. New cars. A boat. Took vacations. You never wondered where that money came from? Jason said he got a huge promotion, Linda whispered. A bonus. We believed him. We were proud of him. Oh God, we were proud of him while he was stealing from you. Why are you here? I asked. Not unkindly. Just tired. Because you raised Jason, Robert said. Melissa told us the story. How you took him in after his parents died. How you paid for his college. How you were like a mother to him. And then they did this to you. It's unforgivable. Yes, I said simply. It is. We want to help, Linda said. We have some savings. Not much. But maybe $20,000. We want to give it to you. To start paying back what they stole. I looked at these two people. They hadn't done anything wrong. They were victims too, in a way. Victims of their daughter's cruelty. Keep your money, I said. This isn't your debt. It's theirs. But you raised Jason. You lost your husband. You're alone. And they took advantage of that. It's not right. No, it's not right. But it's also not your responsibility. Your daughter made her choices. Jason made his choices. They'll face the consequences. You don't need to suffer for their sins. Robert's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what we did wrong. How we raised a daughter capable of this. You didn't do anything wrong, I said. Sometimes people just become someone you don't recognize. Believe me, I know. After they left, I sat in my quiet house and felt something shift. I wasn't alone in this. Even Jason and Melissa's own family was horrified by what they'd done. That night, my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Aunt Patricia, please don't hang up. It was Melissa. Crying. Hysterical. Please, I need to talk to you. How did you get this number? I blocked you. I'm calling from the jail. They give you one phone call. I used it to call you. Please listen to me. You have 2 minutes. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This was all my idea. Jason didn't want to do it. I pushed him. I convinced him. I told him you'd never find out. I told him you had so much money you wouldn't miss it. This is my fault. Please, don't blame Jason. Blame me. I blame you both, I said coldly. You're both adults. You both made choices. I know. But Jason loves you. He really does. He cried every time we lied to you. He felt terrible. He wanted to stop, but I kept pushing. I'm the monster here. Not him. Melissa, you're calling me from jail trying to manipulate me one more time. Trying to make me feel sorry for Jason so I'll drop the charges. It's not going to work. I'm not. That's not what I'm trying to do. Yes, it is. That's what you do. You manipulate. You lie. You perform. Even now, even after everything, you think you can talk your way out of this. You think if you cry enough and blame yourself enough, I'll forgive him. I won't. Please. He's going to prison. Do you understand that? Your nephew, the boy you raised, is going to prison because of me. No, Melissa. He's going to prison because he stole from me. Because he lied to me for 18 months. Because he made me believe someone I cared about was dying. Those were his choices. You didn't hold a gun to his head. He's an adult, and he committed crimes. Now he'll pay for them. I can't believe you're this cold. Where's the woman who gave us all that money? The woman who said family helps family? Where is she? Something snapped inside me. She died. She died the moment I saw you at that mall looking healthy and realized everything was a lie. That woman was naive, trusting. She believed family meant loyalty. But you and Jason taught me different. You taught me that some people will take everything from you and smile while doing it. So yes, I'm cold now. Betrayal does that to people. We'll pay you back. Every penny. I swear. Just drop the charges. With what money? You spent it all. And even if you hadn't, even if you handed me a check for $270,000 right now, I still wouldn't drop the charges. Because this isn't about money anymore. It's about consequences. It's about teaching you that you can't destroy people and walk away. The line went quiet except for her crying. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. You're going to regret this. When Jason's in prison and his life is ruined, you're going to regret being so heartless. Goodbye, Melissa. I hung up. Blocked that number too. The arraignment was the following week. I sat in the courtroom gallery with Detective Chen. Watched as Jason and Melissa were led in wearing orange jumpsuits. They both looked terrible. Jason wouldn't look at me. Melissa glared at me with pure hatred. The charges were read. 13 counts total. Fraud. Elder financial abuse. Identity theft. Forgery. Conspiracy. How do the defendants plead? The judge asked. Their lawyer, a tired-looking public defender, stood. Not guilty, Your Honor. Of course. They were going to fight it. Try to convince a jury that somehow this was all a misunderstanding. The prosecutor stood. Her name was Amanda Ross. Mid-30s. Sharp as a knife. Your Honor, the people request bail be set at $100,000 each. These defendants stole over $270,000 from an elderly widow. They're flight risks. Your Honor, my clients have no criminal record, the public defender argued. They have jobs, ties to the community. They're not going anywhere. Judge Martinez, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair, looked at the case file. I've reviewed the evidence. It's substantial. Bail is set at $75,000 each. Trial date in 8 weeks. Defendants are prohibited from contacting the victim. Violation will result in immediate incarceration. Jason's parents posted bail. They had to take out a loan against their house. Another family going into debt because of Jason and Melissa's choices. After the arraignment, Amanda Ross pulled me aside. Mrs. Patterson, I need to prepare you. Their defense strategy will be to paint you as vindictive. A bitter widow who turned on family when investments didn't go as planned. They'll try to twist this into a civil dispute, not criminal fraud. But the clinic was fake. The medical records show Melissa was never sick. How can they possibly defend that? They'll claim you misunderstood. That they never explicitly said the money was for cancer treatment. That you offered it freely and now regret it. It's ridiculous, but they'll try. Are you prepared for that? For them to attack your character in court? I thought about 18 months of worry. Of grief. Of watching my savings disappear while believing I was saving a life. Yes, I said. I'm prepared. Let them try. Over the next 8 weeks, I prepared for trial. Amanda walked me through what to expect. The questions I'd be asked. The evidence we'd present. The timeline of the fraud. But then, 1 week before trial, something changed. Amanda called me. Mrs. Patterson, Jason's lawyer, contacted me. They want to negotiate a plea deal. What kind of deal? They'll plead guilty to all charges in exchange for a recommended sentence of 6 years in prison for each of them. You'd get a restitution order for the full amount plus interest. They'd avoid trial. What do you think? I think we'd win at trial. The evidence is overwhelming. They'd probably get 8 to 10 years each if convicted by a jury. But trials are unpredictable. And a plea means guaranteed jail time, guaranteed restitution, and you don't have to testify. It's faster, cleaner. Do I have to decide now? You have 48 hours. Mrs. Patterson, I need you to think about what you want. Is this about maximum punishment? Or is it about making sure they face consequences and you get your money back? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Jason at 12 years old. Then at 16. At 20. At 34, calling me an angel while robbing me blind. I thought about testifying. About sitting on a witness stand while their lawyer tried to make me look like a vindictive old woman. About Jason and Melissa sitting there, watching, maybe even smirking. Or I could accept the plea. 6 years. Guaranteed. No trial. No performance. Just justice. The next morning, I called Amanda. I'll accept the plea. 6 years. Full restitution. And I want them to allocate. Allocate? I want them to stand in court and admit out loud exactly what they did. Every lie. Every theft. Every manipulation. I want it on the record. In their own words. I can make that happen. 1 week later, I was back in court. But this time was different. This time, Jason and Melissa weren't fighting. They were surrendering. Judge Martinez took her seat. I understand the defendants wish to change their pleas? The public defender stood. Yes, Your Honor. My clients wish to plead guilty to all charges. Very well. Mr. Hayes, how do you plead to 13 counts of fraud, elder financial abuse, identity theft, forgery, and conspiracy? Jason stood. His voice was barely audible. Guilty. Mrs. Hayes? Guilty, Melissa whispered. The court requires allocation. Mr. Hayes, tell me in your own words what you did. Jason took a shaky breath. For the first time since this started, he looked at me. Really looked at me. I lied to my aunt. Patricia Patterson. She raised me after my parents died. She loved me. She paid for my college. She helped me buy a house. She was like a mother to me. His voice broke. 18 months ago, my wife Melissa and I needed money. We'd gotten into debt. Credit cards. Bad investments. We were desperate. And I came up with a plan. I called Aunt Patricia and told her Melissa had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. That there was an experimental treatment in Switzerland that cost $180,000. He paused, tears streaming down his face now. It was all a lie. Melissa never had cancer. The Swiss clinic didn't exist. We created a fake website, forged medical documents. We stole her money. And then we kept stealing. For 18 months, we told her Melissa was dying. We asked for more money for treatments, medications, specialists. We stole $270,000 total. And what did you do with that money? Judge Martinez asked. We spent it. On a house down payment. Cars. Vacations. A boat. Luxury items. We lived well while Aunt Patricia worried that Melissa was dying. I even staged a visit where Melissa pretended to be sick. Wore makeup to look pale. A wig to fake hair loss from chemotherapy that never happened. We performed for her. Made her cry over something that wasn't real. The courtroom was silent. I watched Jason sob. Watched Melissa stare at the floor. Mrs. Hayes, do you have anything to add? Melissa stood. Her voice was flat. Emotionless. It was my idea. I convinced Jason to do it. I spent the money. I'm guilty. Judge Martinez looked at them both with disgust. What you did is beyond cruel. You didn't just steal money. You stole peace of mind. You stole 18 months of this woman's emotional life. You exploited the deepest kind of love, the love of a parent for a child. There is a special place reserved for people who betray that kind of trust. She opened the sentencing file. Jason Hayes, Melissa Chen, you are hereby sentenced to 6 years in federal prison. You will pay full restitution of $270,000 plus interest and court costs, totaling $312,000. All your assets will be liquidated to begin repayment. You will have felony records for the rest of your lives. And Mrs. Patterson has the right to speak, if she wishes. Amanda had asked me earlier if I wanted to give a victim impact statement. I'd said no. What was there to say that hadn't already been said? But now, looking at Jason, I changed my mind. I stood up. Your Honor, may I speak? Please, Mrs. Patterson. I walked to the front of the courtroom. Stood 10 feet from Jason and Melissa. Looked at them both. Jason, when your parents died, I made a promise. I promised to love you like you were mine. To give you the life they would have wanted for you. I kept that promise for 22 years. I was there for every milestone. Every achievement. Every time you needed anything. My voice didn't shake. Didn't waver. And you repaid that by inventing a dying wife to steal from me. You watched me cry. You watched me worry. You watched me give you everything I had left after Henry died. And you felt nothing. Or if you felt something, it wasn't enough to make you stop. I turned to Melissa. I don't know you as well. But I know this. You're a person who saw someone's love and compassion and thought, how can I use this? That's who you are. A person who fakes cancer. Who studies how to look sick. Who performs grief and fear to manipulate an elderly widow out of her life savings. I looked back at Jason. You asked me on the phone not to hate you. You said I was all the family you had. But Jason, you destroyed that family yourself. The moment you decided to lie to me. The moment you chose money over love. You killed the relationship between us as surely as if you'd put a bullet in it. I'm sorry, Jason whispered. Aunt Patricia, I'm so sorry. I know you are. You're sorry you got caught. Sorry you're going to prison. But you're not sorry for what you did. If you were truly sorry, you would have stopped. You would have confessed. You wouldn't have kept taking my money for 18 months while I grieved for someone who wasn't dying. I turned to the judge. Thank you for letting me speak. I just wanted Jason to understand. He didn't just steal money from me. He stole the last family I had. And no prison sentence can give that back. I returned to my seat. Amanda squeezed my hand. Detective Chen, sitting beside me, whispered, well said. Judge Martinez banged her gavel. Bailiff, take them into custody. 6 years. Starting today. I watched as Jason and Melissa were handcuffed. Led away through the side door. Jason looked back at me once. His face was devastated. Destroyed. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No vindication. Just a deep, profound sadness that it had come to this. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. The story had made the news. Nephew fakes wife's cancer to steal from aunt. It was exactly the kind of story that spread fast. I gave one brief statement. Families should protect each other, not prey on each other. I hope other elderly people will learn from what happened to me. Document everything. Verify everything. Trust, but verify. That's the lesson. And then I went home to my quiet house. Sat in my living room. And finally, after 8 weeks of holding it together, I cried. Not for the money. For the nephew I'd lost. For the family that would never exist again. For the death of who I thought Jason was. You know what nobody tells you about justice? It's slow. Painfully, frustratingly slow. Jason and Melissa went to prison that day. But getting my money back? That was a different timeline entirely. The restitution order said they owed me $312,000. The judge ordered all their assets liquidated. But turning houses and cars and boats into cash takes time. Lots of time. 2 weeks after sentencing, I got a call from the court-appointed liquidation officer. Her name was Barbara Mills. She sounded tired. Mrs. Patterson, I wanted to update you on the asset liquidation. The house is listed. We've had some interest. The cars are being auctioned next week. The boat, well, they owe more on the boat than it's worth, so that's complicated. How long until I see any money? Best case scenario? 4 to 6 months for the first payment. We need to sell everything, pay off any loans against the assets, then distribute to you. I wish I could tell you it'll be faster, but that's the reality. 4 to 6 months. Half a year of waiting while Jason and Melissa sat in prison and I lived on a dwindling savings account. What about their bank accounts? I asked. We froze those immediately. They had about $18,000 combined. That'll be in the first payment to you. But Mrs. Patterson, you should know, there's not going to be enough. Even selling everything, we estimate you'll recover maybe $200,000 of the $312,000 owed. My heart sank. What about the rest? They'll be required to make payments from prison wages. About 30 cents an hour. After they're released, they'll have to get jobs and continue payments. But realistically? It could take 20 years to get the full amount. I'm sorry. That's just how restitution works. 20 years. I'd be 82 years old. If I even lived that long. But at least it was something. More than many fraud victims ever see. The weeks passed slowly. I kept busy. Started volunteering at the library. Joined a book club. Tried to rebuild a life that felt normal. But every time my phone rang with an unknown number, my stomach clenched. Every piece of mail made me anxious. I was waiting. Always waiting. For the money. For closure. For something that would make this all feel finished. 1 month after sentencing, something unexpected happened. My doorbell rang on a Saturday morning. I looked through the peephole and saw an elderly couple I didn't recognize. The man held a bouquet of flowers. The woman clutched a handbag. I opened the door cautiously. Can I help you? Mrs. Patterson? The man asked. My name is George Hayes. This is my wife Martha. We're Jason's parents. Jason's parents. The people who'd raised him before David and Angela adopted him. No, wait. That wasn't right. David and Angela were his parents. These must be. I'm confused, I said. Jason's parents died in a car accident 22 years ago. No, George said gently. I'm Robert's father. Jason's paternal grandfather. Robert was your brother David's name before. I'm sorry, this is complicated. may we come in? We've driven 6 hours to see you. I let them in, completely bewildered. We sat in my living room, and George explained. David was our son. Robert David Hayes. He went by his middle name, David, as an adult. When he and Angela died, you took Jason in. We wanted to, but we were already in our 70s then. We didn't think we could handle raising a 12-year-old. We thought you and Henry would be better for him. I didn't know Jason had grandparents, I said. He never mentioned you. Martha's face crumpled. He didn't know us well. We lived in Oregon. We'd only met him a handful of times before David died. After you took him in, we sent cards and gifts for a few years. But Jason never responded. Eventually, we stopped trying. We thought maybe it was too painful. A reminder of what he'd lost. Why are you here now? I asked. George reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. We read about the trial in the news. About what Jason did to you. We were horrified. Ashamed. We raised David to be better than that. And somehow, our grandson turned into someone who could do something so cruel. He handed me the envelope. We're 87 and 85 years old. We don't have much. But we have some savings. $50,000. We want you to have it. I stared at the envelope. I can't take your money. You didn't do anything wrong. You raised our grandson, Martha said, tears streaming down her face. For 10 years, you gave him a home. Love. You sent him to college. You were the mother he needed after losing David and Angela. And he repaid you with betrayal. We can't fix what he did. But we can do this. Please. Let us do this. Keep your savings, I said firmly. You need it. At your age, you can't afford to give away $50,000. We're dying, Mrs. Patterson, George said bluntly. I have stage 3 lung cancer. Martha has advanced dementia, though today is a good day. We have maybe a year left between us. Maybe less. We have no other family. No other grandchildren. When we die, this money goes to nobody. It'll sit in probate and eventually go to the state. We want it to go to you. Please. It's the only way we can apologize for the grandson we failed to raise properly. I looked at these two elderly people, frail, dying, carrying guilt that wasn't theirs to carry. Jason made his own choices, I said. You didn't fail him. He failed himself. And he failed me. That's not your responsibility. Maybe not, Martha said. But it would bring us peace. Knowing we did something right at the end. Please, Patricia. Let us have this peace. I took the envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for $50,000. I'll accept it on one condition, I said. Let me take you to lunch. Let me hear stories about David when he was young. Let me know the father Jason lost. Can you do that? They both smiled through their tears. We'd love that. We spent 3 hours at a quiet restaurant. George and Martha told me stories about David as a boy. How he'd loved baseball. How he'd met Angela at a college party. How happy they'd been when Jason was born. David called us the week before he died, George said. Told us Jason was doing great. Getting good grades. Playing soccer. He said, Dad, I'm so lucky. I have the best kid in the world. He was so proud. What would David think of what Jason did? I asked. George's face went hard. He'd be devastated. Ashamed. David was honest to a fault. He once drove 30 miles to return a wallet he found with $40 in it. The idea that his son would steal from family? From you? David would be heartbroken. Before they left, Martha took my hand. Thank you for raising Jason when we couldn't. You gave him every chance. What he did with those chances, that's on him, not you. You were a good mother to him. Those words broke something open inside me. I hugged her. This tiny, frail woman who was losing her memories but still drove 6 hours to apologize for a grandson she barely knew. After they left, I sat with that check for a long time. $50,000. Not from the court. Not from asset liquidation. From 2 dying people who felt responsible for their grandson's sins. I deposited the check. And I made a decision. When George died, I'd pay for his funeral. When Martha died, I'd pay for hers. It was the least I could do. 2 months after sentencing, Barbara Mills called again. The house sold. Cars are auctioned. After paying off the mortgages and car loans, we have $162,000 for you. When will I get it? Check will be mailed this week. Mrs. Patterson, I have to tell you, this is more than most fraud victims recover. The fact that they had assets to seize made all the difference. $162,000. Plus the $50,000 from George and Martha. $212,000 of the $312,000 I'd lost. It wasn't everything, but it was enough. Enough to rebuild my savings. Enough to feel secure again. Enough to know I'd won. The check arrived on a Wednesday. I took it to the bank, watched my account balance jump, and I felt nothing. No relief, no joy. Just a quiet acknowledgement that this chapter was closing. That evening, I received a letter, prison mail, from Jason. I almost threw it away unopened. But curiosity won. Inside was 3 pages of handwriting. Jason's familiar script. The same handwriting I'd seen on birthday cards and college papers and thank you notes over the years. Dear Aunt Patricia, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to believe anything I say. But I need to write it anyway. I'm in prison now, 4 months into a 6-year sentence. Every day, I wake up and remember what I did. What I threw away. Not the money. You. The person who loved me unconditionally. The person who gave me a life after my parents died. I tell myself stories to make it hurt less. I tell myself we were desperate. That the debt was crushing us. That I didn't know how else to fix it. But those are lies. Comfortable lies I used to justify cruelty. The truth is simpler and worse. I saw an opportunity. I saw your love and your trust and your loneliness after Uncle Henry died. And I exploited it. I weaponized it. I turned your compassion into a tool to steal from you. Melissa and I didn't need that money to survive. We wanted it. Wanted the nice things. Wanted the life we thought we deserved. And we took it from the one person who'd already given us everything. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm writing because you need to know something. This wasn't your fault. You didn't fail me. You gave me every advantage. Every opportunity. Every bit of love a parent gives a child. I failed you. I failed the parents who raised me before they died. I failed Uncle Henry. I failed myself. All the choices that led to prison? Those were mine. Not yours. Some of the guys in here ask what I did. I tell them fraud. They nod like they understand. But they don't. They stole from corporations. From insurance companies. From strangers. I stole from my mother. Because that's what you were. My mother in every way that mattered. I think about you every day. Wonder if you're okay. If the restitution payments are coming through. If you hate me. If you ever think about me. I'm sorry isn't enough. It doesn't cover the magnitude of what I did. But it's all I have. So I'm sorry. For the lies. For the fake cancer. For watching you cry over someone who wasn't sick. For 18 months of manipulation. For destroying the one relationship that should have been sacred. I hope someday, maybe years from now, you can remember me as the kid you raised. Not as the man I became. I hope you can remember teaching me to ride a bike and helping me with homework and celebrating my college graduation. I hope those memories aren't completely poisoned by what I did. But I'd understand if they are. I'd understand if you burned this letter without reading it. I'd understand if you never think of me again except to hate me. You deserved better. You deserved a nephew who honored your sacrifice. Who loved you back the way you loved him. Who became someone you could be proud of. Instead, you got me. I'm sorry. Jason. I read that letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. Not where I'd see it every day. But not thrown away either. I didn't write back. Didn't know what I'd say. The Jason in that letter sounded genuinely remorseful. But I'd believed Jason before. Believed him when he said Melissa had cancer. Believed him when he called me an angel. Belief had cost me $270,000. So I kept the letter. But I didn't respond. Maybe someday I would. Maybe not. That was a decision for future Patricia. Present Patricia had other things to do. 1 week later, I got a different kind of letter. From Melissa's parents. Robert and Linda. Dear Patricia. We wanted you to know that we've cut off all contact with Melissa. We visit her mother, Linda's mother, in the nursing home weekly, and we'll continue that. But Melissa chose her path. She chose to lie and steal and hurt you. We can't support that. We can't pretend it's okay. We've also started volunteering with an organization that helps elderly victims of financial fraud. We give talks about warning signs. About how family members can be perpetrators. About how to protect yourself. We tell your story, with your permission implied, but if you want us to stop, we will. Every time we tell it, people gasp. They cry. They say they can't imagine their own children or nieces or nephews doing something so cruel. We tell them, neither could you. Neither could Patricia. That's why it worked. Because she loved and trusted without suspicion. We're sorry we raised someone capable of this. We're sorry we didn't see the signs. We're sorry you suffered because of our daughter. But mostly, we're trying to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. That's the only redemption we can find. With deep regret. Robert and Linda Chen. I wrote back to them. Told them I appreciated their work. Told them they were welcome to use my story. Told them they didn't need to carry Melissa's guilt. They wrote back thanking me. Said they'd named their fraud prevention program Patricia's Promise in my honor. A promise to protect elderly people from family predators. It was something. Not closure. Not healing. But something. 4 months after sentencing, I received the final asset liquidation check, $38,000. The last of what could be recovered from Jason and Melissa's possessions. Total recovered, $250,000. Between the liquidation and George and Martha's gift, still $62,000 short of what they'd stolen. But more than I dared to hope for 6 months ago. I put it all in a high-yield savings account, rebuilt my emergency fund, calculated that if I was careful, I could live comfortably on my pension and Social Security. The fear of financial insecurity that had haunted me since discovering the theft, it began to ease. I was going to be okay. Not rich. Not where I was before Jason and Melissa. But okay. And sometimes, okay is enough. That night, I did something I hadn't done in months. I pulled out old photo albums. Found pictures of Jason as a boy. Jason at 13, gap-toothed and smiling. Jason at 16, wearing his soccer uniform. Jason at 22, in his college graduation gown, Henry and me on either side of him, all of us beaming. I let myself remember. Not the betrayal. Not the lies. But the years before. The good years. When I believed family meant something. When love felt safe. Those years existed. They were real. Jason's crimes didn't erase them. They just ended them. I could grieve what was lost while still cherishing what had been. Both things could be true. I put the albums away. Not forgotten. But not dwelling either. Just acknowledged. The boy in those photos didn't exist anymore. Maybe he never did. Maybe he was always capable of what he became. Or maybe something changed along the way. I'd never know. But I did know this, I'd done my best. I'd loved completely. I'd given everything I had to give. And if that wasn't enough to keep Jason from becoming a thief and a liar, that wasn't my failure. It was his. You know what I learned about betrayal? It doesn't kill you. Even when you think it will. Even when you want it to. It just changes you. And you get to decide what that change looks like. 1 year after Jason and Melissa went to prison, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went to a support group for victims of family financial fraud. It was held in a church basement on Tuesday evenings. Folding chairs arranged in a circle. Weak coffee in styrofoam cups. The kind of setting you see in movies and think that would never be me. But there I was. The group leader was a woman named Helen. She was 73 years old. Her son had stolen her entire retirement savings. $400,000. Told her he was investing it. Spent it on gambling instead. Welcome, she said when I walked in nervously. We're glad you're here. No judgment. No shame. Just people who understand. There were 8 of us that first night. 8 people whose families had stolen from them. A man whose daughter took out credit cards in his name. A woman whose brother forged her signature on her mother's will. An elderly couple whose grandson convinced them to sign over their house. Everyone had a story. And all the stories had the same theme: we trusted family, and family destroyed us. When it was my turn to share, I told them about Jason. About raising him. About the fake cancer. About watching my savings disappear while I believed I was saving a life. How much did he take? Someone asked. $270,000 over 18 months. The room went quiet. Then Helen spoke. And how much did you get back? $250,000. Between asset liquidation and an unexpected gift from Jason's dying grandparents. That's remarkable, Helen said. Most of us get nothing. Your nephew had assets to seize. That's rare. Consider yourself lucky. Lucky. It was a strange word for what I'd been through. But she was right. I'd gotten most of my money back. Many victims never do. How do you feel now? Helen asked. Angry? Sad? Numb? I thought about it. All of those. But also, relieved. That it's over. That I know the truth. That I don't have to pretend anymore. Pretend what? That family is automatically trustworthy. That love is always returned. That doing the right thing guarantees anything except that you did the right thing. A woman across the circle nodded. That's the hardest lesson. Learning that good people don't always get protected. That being kind doesn't mean people won't hurt you. I kept going to those Tuesday meetings. Week after week, hearing stories. Telling mine. Learning that I wasn't alone. That this particular kind of betrayal, family theft, was more common than anyone wants to admit. And slowly, something shifted. The raw wound of Jason's betrayal began to scar over. Not healed, but no longer bleeding. 3 months into attending the group, Helen approached me after a meeting. Patricia, I have a favor to ask. We're doing a presentation at the senior center next month, educating elderly people about family fraud. Would you be willing to speak? Tell your story? You're articulate. You kept excellent records. You got justice. People need to hear that. I don't know if I'm ready for that. You don't have to decide now. But think about it. Your story could help someone. Could prevent this from happening to someone else. That's not nothing. I thought about it for 2 weeks. Then I called Helen. I'll do it. I'll speak. The senior center presentation was on a Thursday afternoon. About 60 people attended. Mostly women over 65. Some couples. All of them vulnerable to exactly what had happened to me. I stood at the front of the room with a microphone. Told them about Jason. About the fake cancer. About how I'd lost $270,000 to someone I'd raised as a son. I kept every receipt, I said. Every bank statement. Every text message. Every email. I photographed deposit slips. I documented everything. I didn't know I'd need those records. But when I did, they saved me. They were the difference between getting justice and just being another victim with a sad story and no proof. After the presentation, people lined up to talk to me. To tell me their own stories. To ask questions. To thank me for speaking. An elderly man shook my hand, tears in his eyes. My grandson asked me to loan him $50,000 last month, for a business opportunity. I was going to say yes. After hearing your story, I'm going to say no. Or at least, I'm going to verify everything first. You might have just saved me from making a terrible mistake. Verify everything, I told him. Trust, but verify. Love your grandson. But protect yourself. A woman hugged me. I lost $80,000 to my daughter. She said her husband needed surgery. It was all lies. I felt so stupid. So ashamed. But hearing you, you're educated. Smart. And it still happened to you. Maybe I'm not stupid. Maybe I just loved someone who betrayed that love. You're not stupid, I said firmly. You're human. They're the ones who are broken. Not us. After that, I started speaking regularly. Senior centers. Community organizations. Church groups. Anywhere that would have me. I told Jason's story over and over. Not to shame him. But to warn others. To arm them with knowledge. Document everything. Verify medical claims. Ask for proof. Don't wire money without independent confirmation. Trust, but verify. People listened. They took notes. They asked questions. They thanked me. And something unexpected happened. Telling the story over and over, it lost its power to hurt me. It became just information. Facts. A cautionary tale. Not my personal tragedy, but a lesson for others. 6 months after I started speaking, I received a letter from a woman named Dorothy. Dear Patricia, you spoke at my church 3 months ago. I wanted you to know that your story saved me. My niece called 2 weeks after your presentation. Said her daughter needed emergency surgery. $50,000. Insurance wouldn't cover it. She was crying. Desperate. I wanted to give it to her immediately. But I remembered you. Document everything. Verify everything. So I asked for the hospital name, the doctor's name, the diagnosis. She got angry. Said I didn't trust her. Said family doesn't ask for proof. Said if I loved my great niece, I'd send the money immediately. I held firm. Said I needed to verify. She hung up on me. I called the hospital she'd named. They had no record of my great niece. No scheduled surgery. Nothing. It was all a lie. Just like your nephew's cancer was a lie. And because you told your story, because you warned us, I didn't fall for it. You saved me $50,000. But more than that, you saved me from the devastation you went through. From having to prosecute family. From the betrayal and the grief. Thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Dorothy. I read that letter 5 times. Then I put it in a folder with other letters I'd received. Dozens of them. People thanking me. People telling me I'd prevented their victimization. People saying my story mattered. Jason had tried to destroy me. But instead, he'd created something unexpected. He'd created an advocate. A voice for victims. A warning to would-be scammers that we're not all easy targets. There was poetry in that. Dark poetry, but poetry nonetheless. 18 months after sentencing, I received another letter from Jason, his third since going to prison. I'd never responded to the first two. This one was different, shorter, less focused on his guilt and more on acceptance. Dear Aunt Patricia, I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness anymore. I'm writing to tell you something I've learned. In prison, I've had time to think, really think, about who I was, who I became, why I made the choices I made. I've talked to a counselor here. She says I have entitlement thinking, that I believed I deserved things I hadn't earned, that I resented having to work for what others seemed to get easily, that I looked at your life insurance money and thought I should have that. I deserve that more than she does. It's ugly to see yourself that clearly, to realize you're not the victim, you're the predator. I'm trying to change. Taking classes. Learning accounting so maybe I can get a job when I'm released. Trying to become someone who earns things instead of stealing them. I don't expect you to care. You shouldn't care. I just wanted you to know that your suffering wasn't completely meaningless. It forced me to see what I really was. And maybe, in 4 more years when I get out, I'll be someone different. Someone better. The man you raised is still in here somewhere. Buried under years of entitlement and selfishness and greed. But I'm trying to find him again. I'm trying to become the person you thought I was. I know it's too late. I know what we had is gone forever. But I'm trying anyway. Not for you. For me. Because I can't live with being the person who did what I did. I hope you're okay. I hope you've rebuilt. I hope the money came through. I hope you're not alone. Mostly, I hope you're happy. You deserve that. After everything you did for me. After everything I did to you. You deserve to be happy. Jason. I read that letter sitting in my sunny kitchen. The kitchen where I'd received the phone call about Melissa's fake cancer. Where I'd planned how to help them. Where my world had shattered. But now it was just a kitchen again. Bright. Clean. Mine. I thought about responding. Thought about writing back and saying, what? Good luck? I forgive you? I don't forgive you? What words existed for this complicated mess? In the end, I did something different. I wrote a letter. But not to Jason. To myself. The self I'd been 2 years ago. Before the betrayal. Dear past Patricia. In a few months, you're going to get a phone call that will change everything. Jason will tell you Melissa has cancer. You're going to believe him. You're going to give him everything. I wish I could tell you not to. But I can't. Because you're not that person. You're not someone who says prove it when family says they're dying. You're not someone who withholds help because you're suspicious. That's not who you are. And honestly, I don't want you to change that about yourself. Yes, Jason will betray you. Yes, you'll lose money. Yes, it will hurt worse than almost anything you've experienced. But you'll survive. You'll get most of the money back. You'll discover strength you didn't know you had. You'll help other people. You'll rebuild. And here's what's important. You'll do all that while staying true to who you are. You won't become bitter. You won't become suspicious of everyone. You won't let Jason's cruelty turn you cruel. You'll still believe in kindness. In family. In love. You'll just be more careful. More discerning. More protective of yourself while still being generous with others. That's the victory. Not the money you'll recover. Not the justice you'll get. But remaining yourself despite everything he did to try to destroy you. So when that call comes, answer it. Help him. Give everything you have. Because that's who you are. And when you discover the truth, document it. Fight it. Win. And then let it go. Don't let him live in your head rent-free forever. Use the pain. Help others. Transform betrayal into purpose. You're going to be okay. Better than okay. You're going to be someone who turned her worst experience into something meaningful. I'm proud of you. Of us. Of who we chose to remain even when we had every reason to become bitter. Love, future Patricia. I folded that letter and put it in the album with Jason's childhood photos. A reminder. Not of what he did, but of what I chose not to become because of it. 2 years after sentencing, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went to visit George and Martha, Jason's grandparents. The ones who'd given me $50,000. They lived in a small assisted living facility in Oregon. I'd kept in touch with them. Phone calls every few weeks. Cards on holidays. They'd become friends. Strange as that was. When I arrived, George was in a wheelchair. The lung cancer had progressed. Martha's dementia was worse. She didn't remember me at first. But George did. Patricia, he said, his voice weak but warm. You came. I promised I would. We sat in the facility's garden. Talked about everything and nothing. George told me more stories about David. About Jason as a toddler. About a family that once was. Do you hate him? George asked suddenly. Jason. Do you hate my grandson? I thought about that question. Really thought about it. No, I said finally. I hate what he did. I hate the person he became. But the boy I raised? The one in those photos? I don't hate him. I grieve him. Like he died. Because in a way, he did. The person who could do what Jason did isn't the child I knew. So I grieve the loss. But I don't hate. George's eyes filled with tears. You're a better person than I am. I hate him. I hate what he did to you. What he did to David's memory. What he did to our family name. I hate that my last living descendant is in prison for stealing from the woman who saved him. Don't spend your last days hating, I said. It's not worth it. Jason has to live with what he did. That's his burden. Don't make it yours too. How did you let it go? How did you stop being angry? I didn't stop being angry. I just channeled it. Into helping others. Into speaking out. Into making sure his crime had meaning beyond just hurting me. He tried to destroy me. Instead, he created an advocate. That's not forgiveness. That's transformation. George died 3 months later. I paid for his funeral, as I'd promised. It was small. Just me, Martha, who didn't understand where she was, the facility staff, and a pastor. No family. No friends. Just the end of a long life marked by the sins of a grandson. At the grave, I said a few words. George was a good man who loved his son, who wanted the best for his grandson, who carried guilt that wasn't his to carry. He deserved better than what he got. We all did. May he rest in peace knowing he tried to make amends. That's more than some people ever do. Martha lasted another 6 months. I visited her twice. She never remembered me. But I'd sit with her anyway, hold her hand. Tell her about David. She'd smile, lost in memories I couldn't access, but that seemed to bring her comfort. When she died, I paid for her funeral too. Buried her next to George. They'd given me $50,000. I gave them dignity in death. It seemed fair. 3 years after sentencing, I received an unexpected visitor. Amanda Ross. The prosecutor who'd handled Jason's case. We met for coffee. She looked tired. I wanted to update you. Jason comes up for early release next year. He's applied for it. Model prisoner. Completed all his programs. The parole board will consider it. My stomach clenched. Will he get out? Probably. With good behavior, he'll serve 4 years instead of 6. That's how the system works. Mrs. Patterson, he'll be out in a year. And he'll still owe you $62,000. He'll be required to make payments. But I wanted you to be prepared. He'll be free. Rebuilding his life. While you're still dealing with the consequences of what he did. I've already dealt with the consequences. I've rebuilt. He can't hurt me anymore. Are you sure? Because he'll probably try to contact you. To apologize again. To ask for a relationship. Are you prepared for that? I thought about it. Yes. I'm prepared. I'll tell him the same thing I've been telling him in my head for 3 years. I don't hate you. I don't forgive you. I simply release you. You're not my family anymore. You're just someone I used to know. Someone who taught me hard lessons. And I'm grateful for those lessons even as I grieve the way I learned them. Amanda smiled. You're handling this better than most victims. Most people are consumed by it. By anger and grief and the need for revenge. You turned it into purpose. That's rare. I had good teachers. My support group. Other victims who showed me how to survive. I'm not special. I'm just someone who chose healing over hatred. The day came. Jason's early release. I didn't attend the parole hearing. Didn't want to see him. Didn't want to give impact statements about how he should or shouldn't be released. I'd said everything I needed to say at sentencing. The rest was up to the system. He was released on a Tuesday morning. 4 years into his 6-year sentence. I know because he sent me a letter that day. From a halfway house in the city. Dear Aunt Patricia. I'm out. Not free, not really. I'm in a halfway house. Strict rules. Curfew. Job requirements. But I'm out of prison. I wanted you to know that I'm not going to contact you. Not going to show up at your house. Not going to call or text or try to force a relationship you don't want. You gave me everything. I took everything. You owe me nothing. I owe you everything. And I know I can never repay what I stole. Not the money. Not the trust. Not the years. But I'm going to try anyway. I got a job at an accounting firm. Entry level. They know about my record. They hired me anyway. I'm going to work, pay my court-ordered restitution, rebuild a life that isn't built on lies. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for contact. I'm just telling you that I'm trying. That the 4 years in prison changed me. That I understand now what I did, what I destroyed, what I can never get back. I hope you're happy. I hope you're at peace. I hope someday, when you think of me, you remember the good years before I ruined everything. Not for me. For you. Because you deserve to remember love without it being poisoned by betrayal. Thank you for everything you gave me. I'm sorry for everything I took. Jason. I read that letter once, folded it carefully, and put it in a box in my closet. Not thrown away. But not displayed either. Just archived. Part of history. Not part of my present. I didn't write back. Didn't need to. That chapter was closed. 6 months after Jason's release, I was at the grocery store, pushing my cart down the cereal aisle. And there he was. Jason. Older. Thinner. Wearing a cheap suit. Looking at boxes of oatmeal like the decision mattered more than it did. Our eyes met. He went pale. Looked like he might run. Or cry. Or both. I did something that surprised both of us. I walked over. Stood next to him. Looked at the oatmeal too. How are you? I asked. My voice was calm. Neutral. Like I was talking to an acquaintance, not someone who'd devastated my life. I'm okay. Working. Paying restitution. Trying to rebuild. His voice shook. Aunt Patricia, I'm so sorry. For everything. I know sorry doesn't. You're right. It doesn't. But I believe you're sorry. I believe prison changed you. I believe you regret what you did. I picked up a box of oatmeal. Examined it like it was fascinating. I also believe that believing those things doesn't mean we have a relationship. Doesn't mean I trust you. Doesn't mean we're family again. I know. I don't expect. Good. Don't expect anything. Just keep paying your restitution. Keep rebuilding. Keep being better than you were. Not for me. For yourself. I put the oatmeal in my cart. I don't hate you, Jason. But I don't love you either. You're just someone I used to know. Someone who taught me important lessons about trust and documentation and self-protection. I'm grateful for those lessons even though I wish I'd learned them differently. Can I ask you something? His voice was barely audible. You can ask. Are you happy? Are you okay? I looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who used to be my nephew. Who used to be family. Who was now just someone. Yes, I said simply. I'm happy. I rebuilt. I help others. I have purpose. I have peace. Your betrayal didn't destroy me, Jason. It just relocated me to a different version of my life. And I like this version. It's stronger, wiser, more careful but still kind. So yes, I'm okay. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. That's all I needed to know. That you're okay. Thank you. For everything. For raising me. For not completely hating me. For being you. Take care of yourself, Jason. I walked away. Finished my shopping. Went home. Made dinner. Lived my life. And I didn't think about him again that day. Or the next. Or the next. Because he wasn't part of my story anymore. He was just a chapter. A painful, instructive chapter. But the book continued. And the pages ahead were mine to write. That's what healing looks like. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. Just release. Just letting someone exist in your past without letting them poison your present. I visit my support group still. Every Tuesday. I speak at senior centers. I tell my story. I help people protect themselves. I prevented dozens of financial frauds by sharing what happened to me. George and Martha's graves get flowers every month. I promised them peace. I keep that promise. My savings account is healthy again. Not as much as before Jason. But enough. More than enough. And sometimes, late at night, I look at old photos of Jason as a boy. I let myself remember the good parts. The love that was real, even if it was later betrayed. The years that mattered, even if they ended badly. Because that's the thing about love. Even when it's destroyed, it existed. It was real. And choosing to love completely, even when that love is thrown back in your face, isn't weakness. It's strength. Jason tried to teach me that family isn't trustworthy. That kindness is naive. That protecting yourself means never being vulnerable. But I learned something different instead. I learned that you can be both kind and careful, both loving and protected, both generous and discerning. I learned that documentation is love. That trust but verify isn't cynicism, it's wisdom. I learned that the opposite of betrayal isn't revenge. It's rebuilding. And I learned that you get to decide what your pain becomes. Bitterness or purpose. Hatred or advocacy. A closed heart or a careful one. I chose purpose. I chose advocacy. I chose a careful heart that still knows how to love. That's my revenge. That's my justice. That's my healing. Not destroying the person who hurt me, but refusing to let him destroy me. Thank you for walking this difficult road with me to the very end. If this story resonated with you, you can support our community by sending a super thanks. It helps me continue to bring these important stories to light. On the screen now are 2 more stories that I know will touch your soul. I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong.